student dropout rate in Wisconsin is 8.4%, and the Department of Public Instruction wants to do something about that. It held a summit on the subject on March 2nd. One expert told me the crux of the problem comes down to purpose.
I've asked school administrators and students alike in different settings what the purpose of high school is. And you end up with things like graduation. Well, the purpose of high school can't be its own end. The purpose of high school has to be something greater. And if we look at numbers and we see we're not sending a majority of students to college in our most challenging district, we're not sending them on to successful work with employment skills, then it's a pretty valid question to ask what the purpose of high school is.
All right, not to open a complete can of worms here, but it sounds like the underlying problem to this is, as a society, we don't know what education's for.
No, I think that's it's if I'm putting on my Senate hat, it's not about learning. And when you look at what employers are asking for, when you look at transferable skills that students need to succeed as they change multiple jobs, which we know this generation is going to do every 5 years or whatever, we've got to be about learning, because education as it looks now is very static and is very outdated.
And so students are questioning why they're in school in the first place.
Universally, I think when we talk about students being disengaged, we don't really look at what that means. And I think that universally where we're losing students that have no connection to their school. They have no ownership. Their school is something that happens to them. Education is something that happens to them. And when you talk with students, and the students who are succeeding or who have struggled and have come back, they're doing it around a vision, a different vision for where they want to be in life, and one that's not just, I want to be a graduate, but I've got a vision that I want to be this. And it might be that a vision that I don't want to be where I am now. And when students start to build and understand education having a role in a vision that they own, that's when you see shifts starting. That's when you see students come back into school that have disengaged. And that's when you see people who are on the cusp re-engage. And I don't think that we as schools are building our work around that vision.
Another challenge, new technology has marginalized one of education's traditional roles.
The reality is that as a school system or as a teacher, we no longer hold the power of information for our students. The internet does. So I don't need to come to you as a student to teacher to ask you a question. I can Google it. So we have to have a different relationship, and we haven't changed that relationship. Students know they don't need you for information exchange because they know they can Google it. They do still need you for visioning, for relationship, for guidance, for what to do and how to use information, those processes.
Many of the school districts at the summit say they're already doing a lot of the things being suggested here. The problem is many of the underlying reasons that lead students to drop out are beyond the scope of what school districts can address.
Can we take them out of an environment where there's drugs and where there's gangs and those type of things? No, very difficult for a school district to be able to do that. We can work with kids. We got all kinds of programs. We try to hit it from every different angle, but it has to be a bigger entity than just the school district dealing with those issues. And it's not a matter of throwing money at a problem and it's going to go away either.
When you're talking about young people in poverty, for example, or in sort of the urban settings in particular, or even in deep rural, that don't envision their life past 18 years old, that's a very different context to be trying to educate someone in than someone who dreams of a full life, right? And when a teacher doesn't envision their class beyond making sure they hit the next test benchmark, that's a similar process. You're no longer seeing the whole. You're no longer processing this as learning. You're processing it as information exchange. Let's get to the, and that's not necessarily the teacher's fault. That's the system's pressure on teachers.
Regardless of the issues contributing to dropout rates, schools know the final responsibility rests with them.
We have the onus in education to ensure that students are successful, namely because we have them 5 days a week, 6 to 7, 8 hours a day. We have even extended day programs. And so that's important that we seize the ability. We are the experts, and so we need to produce.
For the MacGyver Institute, I'm Bill Osmolsky.